My name is Matt Kegley. I'm the principal here at Hamilton Southeastern High School, and would like to welcome you to a program that has really evolved over the years. This used to be what we just called our AP Showcase, and really mainly highlighted our AP courses, and we're certainly going to talk about those. But as we have continued over time to increase the opportunities that we have for students, those have taken the form of many, many dual credit opportunities, and have even allowed us to highlight some specialty courses or tracks within our school that you don't have to take right away as a freshman or a sophomore, but some of them you can jump in at any time. But we're going to kind of highlight all of those this evening that fit that kind of criteria. How many of you, this is your eldest child? You represent your eldest child. Okay, so that is typically the case. We hope if you've been to this before, we hope there's some new information you might be able to glean. We're going to throw a lot at you this evening. And basically the format of tonight is going to be, Mr. Harder, I'm going to introduce in just a minute, is going to go over some nuts and bolts information that we think it's important for you to have about our curriculum, about our offerings. We've got a great panel assembled that is going to speak to you from different perspectives, all the way up through the university level. And then we're going to have kind of a fair in the CCA cafeteria where you'll have an opportunity to see the courses and programs that fall under the umbrella of the CE. So that's our plan as we go through. And we really want, for you students that are here, I really want to challenge you to pay close attention to the things that are up there. If you're an 8th grader in particular, this is the time where we start to transition, and we want to see a transition of responsibility from maybe your folks to you, and you having a significant input into what it is you will take in your high school experience, because that should lead to whatever you want the next step to be after high school. And the one thing that you would probably notice, or you should notice after this evening, is there are many, many opportunities available for you as a student at Hamilton Southeastern High School. I can tell you, and parents, many of you will relate, I never had the opportunities in my high school experience that your son or daughter are having or will have as students here. So please pay attention and take advantage of that information. So to get the ball rolling, I'm going to introduce Mr. Doug Harder. Doug is one of our assistant principals here at Hamilton Southeastern High School, and kind of oversees the programming of the College and Career Academy. Doug?
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight. I really appreciate that, and braving the weather and the weather forecast. I've put together a great program for you tonight, and it's going to be a lot of information. I know I chuckled, there's a lot of you that raised your hand that this is your oldest child coming through. This year I have a senior, I have a sophomore, and I have a freshman. So I have 3 in high school this year. And so even myself being in education, high school can be overwhelming with all of the choices and all the things you have to keep track of. And so tonight, we just want to make sure that you get some information so that it can help you as you guide your child through some of their high school experiences. However, this won't be the only time. You'll have opportunities to contact me, contact the counselor, and so don't feel like you have to get it all in tonight and understand it all. This is just a way for you to get some information as you start to plan or think ahead to your child entering Hamilton Southeastern High School or going on through Hamilton Southeastern High School. So let's begin. So what's our purpose tonight? We wanted to provide you with the information about all our program offerings, as Mr. Kegley said, about AP, dual credit, and our academic specialty programs. And we want to make sure that you are equipped with some of that information so you can make the best decisions possible for your child. We are starting to enter the scheduling process now here at the high school. And I know for 8th graders, you're beginning to think about that scheduling for next year when you're going to be becoming a freshman. So we want to make sure we give you this information as you do this. We're going to talk a little bit about the benefits, the processes, and the differences between AP, dual credit, and some of our specialty areas. And I know some of the language that I'll probably use tonight, such as ACP or AP, may be completely new to some of you. And so, again, we're hopeful that tonight we'll be able to share, some of that so that you have some better information. As Mr. Kegley also said, part of the program, the second half of this program, I've invited panelists, and we're going to be up on stage. And so you'll be able to hear from some of our students, some of our teachers, some of our representatives of our dual credit partners, and you'll be able to hear some of their information as well. And then later, when we transition to the course fair afterwards, they'll be manning tables and things like that, so you can ask questions of them, get pamphlets on their information. So hopefully it'll be a good information gathering evening for you. Okay, so let's get started with what's available. So the first thing is, here's our advanced placement course offerings. You can see that we offer a whole lot. And so we offer just about every AP class possible. About the only exception is we don't offer some of the AP foreign language classes, such as Latin, that other places may. But we offer just about everything else. I also want to highlight at the very bottom there, you can see we offer what's called the Capstone Diploma. There's only a handful of schools in Indiana and only a handful of schools around the country that offer the AP Capstone Diploma. And that's two classes. As a junior, you would take AP Seminar, and then as a senior, you take AP Research. So we're very proud that we have that program, and this will be our third year of implementing that program. So that's our AP offerings. Next is a dual credit. We have several dual credit partners. And so the first is IU Bloomington, and their dual credit program is called Advanced College Project. So you will begin to see the acronym in course guides as ACP, like ACP Government. And that stands for Advanced College Project Government, which is an IU course. And so you can see here all the listing of courses that we offer through IU Bloomington. Next, we have a partnership with Ball State. And so you'll see that we offer some courses through Ball State as well. One that I like to highlight is the class in entrepreneurship. This was an endeavor that I worked on for a couple years with Ball State that we offer during the summer. So it's unique and it's during the summer. And last year, we tied it with the Launch Fishers High School Fellowship, where students were placed in internships in the city with local entrepreneurs, and at the same time, they were able to take a class in entrepreneurship at Launch Fishers. If you don't know, Ball State has a wing to that building, and so the class was held there. And so that's a unique partnership that we have with Ball State and the city of Fishers. Next, we are really excited to announce that this year we have a new partnership, brand new partnership with Butler. And we are only a handful of schools in the state of Indiana that Butler is new to the dual credit world. And they have come to us and we are offering dual credit for future educators. And so as Angela Upton, as you'll meet here in a few minutes, and I talked, we do a lot of encouraging students to go into engineering, go into biomedical science, and yet we forget that we need to encourage people to go into education. So this is one of our steps to doing that in our cadet teaching program. And then lastly, we have a great partnership with Ivy Tech Community College. And so as you can see just from this listing, we offer a whole lot of classes through Ivy Tech. And you can see it's a great variety of different classes that we offer through Ivy Tech. Some of the courses are offered here on site. Some of the courses are offered in conjunction with J. Everett Light, our Career Center, that we offer here on site. And then the next slide, we have a partnership with Ivy Tech Noblesville that allows students to pick 3 different pathways that then if they feel like, for example, if they think they want to go into informatics, they can choose that pathway and they spend half their day here and they spend the other half of their day at Ivy Tech Noblesville, and they're able to get 4 college classes in 1 year. And so they're well on their way to getting an associate's degree. And oftentimes these courses, in fact, all of those courses lead to certifications. So for example, in the informatics, it will lead to possibly the CompTIA and the CompSecurity Plus certifications. So students can leave our doors with certifications, close to getting an associate's degree, they can become employed, etc. So we're really excited about our partnership with Ivy Tech. Besides our AP and dual credit, we also offer academic specialty areas. And so the 2 that we have through Project Lead the Way are Project Lead the Way Biomedical Science and Project Lead the Way Engineering. So if your child is interested in thinking they want to become a doctor, for example, they can choose the Project Lead the Way Biomedical Science pathway, and that means basically that they would take an additional science course with their normal science course. Each year they're here at Hamilton Southeastern. And so it's a great way for them to gain some skills and background in biomedical science that then helps them on a college application. Oftentimes it leads to an internship, so they're much better prepared when they apply to college in those specific fields. We also have an Academy of Finance. So again, if your child is interested in going into business, we have specialized classes for students who want to do that. And so they may take the basic accounting class that we have, but then have the opportunity to take a college class through Anderson in accounting, and they get dual credit that way. And so, again, this program offers the opportunity for students to get an internship between their junior and senior year, and you'll hear more about that when we have our panel discussion. So again, it's another great program. And then lastly, we have a Law and Government Academy. So again, if a student, your student is thinking they might want to become a lawyer, or they want to go into politics one day, they can choose to be a part of the Law and Government Academy, where again they are taking some specialized classes like constitutional law in their program, and it also leads to internships the 2nd semester of their senior year, where they are placed with a local attorney and things like that. So it's another great opportunity for students. I just want to highlight just how fantastic our AP and our Project Lead the Way courses are. This was an award from the College Board and Project Lead the Way, where you can see that we were ranked 2nd in the country for the number of students who were awarded the Student Achievements Award, where they basically have to take a couple of AP classes and score well enough, as well as take a couple of Project Lead the Way courses in a specific pathway and score well enough. So you can see we're very proud of that. So we have a great program, both on the AP side as well as the Project Lead the Way side. Okay, so now the question is, why take these courses? What are the benefits to taking an AP course or a benefit of taking a dual credit class? Well, the first thing is it helps your students fulfill the Core 40 with Academic Honors Diploma requirements. And so, as you may or may not know, there's 2 different types of high school diplomas, and your child could get a Core 40 diploma, or they can get a Core 40 with Academic Honors Diploma. And so one of those requirements to get the Academic Honors Diploma is that they have to have a combination of either an AP class or a dual credit class or 2 dual credit classes. And so by taking those classes, it helps your student fulfill this requirement. The next slide shares a little bit more about that specifically. So you can see the highlighted area here, up here where it says that in order for a student to earn the honors diploma, they have to, again, earn 2 of the following. They can take 1 AP class and earn credit there, and then take 1 dual credit class and earn 3 credits. That would fulfill it. Or they could take 2 AP classes, or they could take 2 dual credit classes. So it's a combination, but it's a way for students to fulfill that requirement. Secondly, students are experiencing a college level course, which, as we know who've gone to college level courses are more rigorous, they're more challenging, they go more in depth. And so then obviously if your students are exposed to that at the high school level, they're going to be better prepared then as they enter college. And so for us at Hamilton Southeastern High School, that's very important because as I put here on the slide, 85% of our graduates, that's the latest data we had from 2015, are entering college, and that's been consistent for several years. So we have a lot of our students who are going on to college. We want to make sure we are preparing them for that. So how are we doing? So here's some data from the state of Indiana that helps to explain a little bit about how an AP class or dual credit class can help a student as they perform in college. So this slide shows the percentage of our students who needed remediation when they went to college. And this is again the class of 2015. But you'll see here, if you took an advanced placement class, only 2% of the students needed remediation who had taken an AP class and passed the AP test. If you did not take an AP test or take an AP class, 19% of the students needed remediation. Again, that's just an indication that they're better prepared for college. In terms of the dual credit status, a student who had earned dual credit, only 3% needed remediation. For those who did not earn dual credit, 8%. Not a huge difference, but still a difference. Well, how did they perform? So here, that shows some information about the average freshman GPA, as well as the average freshman credit hours that are earned. So you can see again, for advanced placement, if a student took an AP class and passed, the average freshman GPA was a 3.3. For those who did not take an AP test, 2.4. So quite a bit of difference. In terms of credit hours earned, again, you can see a difference between 29 credits earned and 19 credits earned. So again, there's a difference here. In terms of dual credit, same kind of thing. If a student earned dual credit, 3.2 was the average GPA. For those who did not, 2.7. And then you can see the difference here in the credit hours. So again, the bottom line is, for students who are taking AP courses and dual credit courses, they are better prepared for college, and we're seeing that in our data year after year. Okay, again, another great benefit, besides the two that I've already shared, is that students can get a head start on college by getting those credits in high school and at the fraction of the cost. And in some cases, with specifically Ivy Tech, it could be at no cost to you. And so that could result in great savings. And so again, for a parent, I'm just like you, and I'm gonna, here in a few years, I might need to be passing the hat around because I'll have 3 in college. Having a way to save money is really important, right? So we'll look at this data that I compiled, and this is just IU and Ball State, because I didn't have the Ivy Tech data that we relate with J. Light. But here are the number of credits earned last year for students through IU Bloomington. 2,000 credits earned. From Ball State, 79 credits earned. So then there is a cost, and I'll get to that in just a minute. There is a cost for students to take an IU course or a Ball State course, but it's at a reduced rate. And so this amount represents the savings, the cumulative savings of all of our families taking dual credit through IU and through Ball State. So if I included Ivy Tech in this, and Anderson and University of Indianapolis, we'd be over $1 million saved because they took dual credit here at Hamilton Southeastern. That's powerful. Okay, a couple other reasons why this is a benefit to your child. Again, I've mentioned a little bit, this gives them greater access to internship opportunities that they may have. And so again, a lot of our specialty programs like the Academy of Finance, engineering, biomedical science, we work to place students in internships because what happens is when I approach a community member who'd like to take one of our interns, I can confidently tell them, you're going to get a student who has some skills and some experience in that area. So a student who's gone through our Academy of Finance has had several classes. So they're not going to that company just to pour coffee or file some papers. They have some skills, and our companies that work with us recognize that in our students. And so we're able to place, last year we placed close to 150 students in internships or real-world learning experiences throughout the year. So our local companies partner with us, and they see the value of our students, and it's because of these programs. And then lastly, students have a competitive advantage as they apply to college, as they apply for scholarships, when you're able to show you've taken so many AP classes or dual credit classes and things like that. Okay, so I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, okay, what are the differences? How do I choose between AP or dual credit? Well, let's look at that. So here's AP. And so I'm going to kind of go through some of the differences with that. The first thing is, there's no GPA requirement to take an AP class. I fielded a couple of questions from parents this week where and there was an 8th grade parent that said, well, my child is not a gifted and talented student. Is this even appropriate for them? And so my answer was yes, because when you come to the high school, all these classes are open to you. We're not looking if you are gifted and talented. We want you to take those classes that you feel you can do well in and that you have a passion for. Now, it doesn't mean that anybody can just take the class in a sense. You have to show some demonstrated performance. You have to have a certain, like maybe you had a B in the previous class, and things like that. But there's not a requirement in terms of the GPA, so it's open. Next, the AP classes it's not a college class, technically. It's a college level course. And the curriculum that we use has to be approved by the College Board. Next, it is universally recognized. So if you have a student who is thinking of going to a private school, like say the University of Notre Dame, or you're thinking of going to an East Coast school, AP is going to be recognized everywhere. And so it has a prestige about it because everyone knows about AP. So you have to keep that in mind when you're deciding if this is something for my child. One of the big things that's different about AP versus dual credit is that in order to get college credit, you have to pass an exam. And so you have to have qualifying exam scores in order for that credit to count. And so I'll talk about that here in just a minute, but that is the difference between the dual credit. Lastly, there is a cost to taking an AP course, not the course, but when they take the exam. And so you can see here, the exam fees for this year for a regular course, it's $94 per exam. And then if your child takes the AP seminar or the research, it's $142 per exam. So you'll see that, comparing that to a dual credit class through, say, IU or Ivy Tech, the dual credit will be cheaper than paying for the AP exam in some cases. One thing I do want to highlight, though, is if your child's taking an AP exam, they're a junior or senior, if they're taking an exam in English, math, or science, the state of Indiana does pay for that. And so then for your child, there is very little cost to that. There's still an administrative fee, but it's reduced because the state of Indiana does cover that. So that's a nice benefit that we use. Okay, so that's AP. I talked a little bit about the scores. In the state of Indiana, the state requires public colleges and universities to accept for college credit students who get a score of a 3 or above. AP scores are on a 5-point scale, and so if a student gets a 3, 4, or 5, the state of Indiana requires colleges to count that. Now, how they count that is up to the individual school. A lot of schools will count a 3 as an elective credit. If you get a 5, then it may go towards your major. So it all kind of depends on the institution, and it depends on the score your child receives. So how have our students done on the AP exam? You can see we are very proud of our scores. And so if you look over here to the right, this is our 5-year trend. But last year's class, 67% of our students who took the AP exam scored a 3, 4, or 5. And you can see compared to the state of Indiana, state of Indiana was at 53%, so we're well above the state average. And then the global average we're also above the global average of 60%. So we're very proud of our AP track record. Our students are taking AP classes and they're performing well on the AP exams. All right, so now let's look at dual credit and some of the specifics there. And we'll hear more about this when we have our panel discussion, but just quickly through these slides, IU, there's a 2.7 GPA requirement in order to take the course. So it's not just open to anybody. You have to have at least a 2.7 GPA. You also have to meet course prerequisites that you have to have at least had a C in the previous class. So for example, if you're taking an English class, then the previous year's English class, you had to have had a C, at least a C average. You have to be at least a sophomore and above to take an IU course. You cannot be a freshman, which again is different. We do offer like an AP course for freshmen, things like that. It's a university course, so it's an actual IU course, just as if your student was taking it down in Bloomington. So it's not a high school course, it's an IU course that our teachers teach. The grade appears on an official IU transcript. This is something we really try to educate our students on, that when you enter that class and you sign up for the dual credit, the grade that you're going to receive is going to be on an official transcript. And so we really try to make sure students understand that, because we do not want our students to start their college career with like a D on their transcript because when they were a sophomore, they blew off a class or something like that. And we really try to protect them in that process, and then we will remove a student at certain times if they look like they're going to struggle in that course. So we try to protect them because we want this to be a benefit to our students. And then lastly, for IU Bloomington, all of their courses cost $25 per credit hour. Now that's awesome. I know, again, if you've been to college, I went to IU myself. I didn't pay $25 per credit hour. It was a lot more than that. But for our students, they get that opportunity at a reduced cost. So that's a great benefit. Okay, Ball State. So each institution has their own different requirements. So that's why I'm sharing this with you. So Ball State, if you're taking a Ball State class, they require a 3.0 GPA in order to take the class. You have to be at least a junior or a senior to take the class, so you could not be a sophomore. You also have to have a composite SAT score of a 1250 or an ACT composite score of a 22 in order to qualify for the dual credit. Again, it's the same as IU. It's a university course. It's a Ball State course. It's not, again, a high school course. It's a Ball State course where the professor has created a curriculum. We use the Ball State textbook, things like that. Again, the grade appears on an official transcript. Their tuition fees vary. So we offer 3 courses, as I shared before. If you take our anatomy course through Ball State, it's $25 per credit hour. If you take the biology, you can see it's $63 per credit hour. And if you take the entrepreneurship course in the summer, it's $117. So it varies by each class. All right, Butler. Butler also has the 3.0 GPA requirement. This is also open just to juniors and seniors, and this is only one course that we offer through Butler right now, and that is the Future Educators course, the cadet teaching. Again, it also appears on an official Butler transcript, and the tuition fees are $65 per credit hour. And again, for a private institution, we are thrilled that they were willing to really reduce their tuition for our students. It's a wonderful savings for our families. All right, and then lastly, Ivy Tech. Ivy Tech's a little bit more complicated in terms of qualifying for the dual credit. If you are a senior, you have to have a 2.6 GPA and then you qualify. If you are not a senior, we offer a lot of Ivy Tech classes, and so several of our freshmen can take Ivy Tech classes. So if you are a freshman or sophomore, you can show you're qualified by getting a certain score on a standardized test, such as a PSAT, ACT, SAT. Well, a lot of our freshmen and sophomores haven't had the opportunity to take those yet, so then they have to take what's called the AccuPlacer. And so if a student has to score well enough on the AccuPlacer then in order to qualify for the dual credit. So again, each institution is a little bit different. Again, it's a college course. Their grade appears on an official Ivy Tech transcript. And one thing that's a little different with Ivy Tech is that they will not allow a student who has gotten a grade lower than a C to even be entered into their final transcript. So I work with our liaison, and if we have a student who at the final exam dips below a C, we will pull that student automatically. So that again, we are here to protect our students so that they don't get a poor grade on an official transcript. Lastly, as you can see here, one of the greatest benefits of Ivy Tech dual credit is it costs nothing. It is nothing. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for our students to get credit. And then lastly, I mentioned earlier, a lot of the classes that we offer through Ivy Tech lead to certifications. And so that's another, besides getting college credit, they're earning some certifications as well that they can go right into the workforce and earn money. All right. How can you get more information? Again, we've shared a lot of information with you. I've put together different websites. This PowerPoint will be on our website, and so it'll be under the College and Career Academy section. And so you can access this PowerPoint at that point. And you can also click on all these different links that lead you to more information about all of these different programs.